Come on in. Hey everybody, Travis Williams here with Northwoods Whitetails. Welcome into my home. Got a few bucks to show you. This is the 2021, I call him the Big 8, because he's a pretty big 8. Really fun hunt. This one took me for a walk, tracked him for about 6 miles, called him the snowstorm buck because I shot him in a snowstorm. Really fun, like I said. I ended up tracking him right to his bed, shot him at about 25 yards as he looked at me like, uh-oh, this isn't good. And yeah, he ended up weighing 198 pounds, and I don't know what he scores, but he's a pretty nice one. Going out of order here, but this is 2014, another really good tracking story. I actually tracked this buck in one fashion or another for 2 weeks. Some days I'd get cut off, some days I wouldn't find his track, but for 2 weeks I hunted this deer. I tracked him at least 6 or 7 times. He never was with a doe. Finally, on Thanksgiving morning, we got a fresh blanket of snow, and he made the mistake of finding a girlfriend. Jumped him 3 times. On the 4th time, I shot him at about 25 yards in his bed. Awesome hunt, great big buck, drop time, just unbelievable. I was probably one of my first rack bucks I'd ever shot, and it was a blast. So this is a local buck, actually. I don't hunt much around here. I like to do a lot of my hunting in the North Country. I like really big tracts of land, but there's some big bucks around my house, so I decided to take my muzzleloader for a walk, and I walked down over the bank, and this buck was laying in his bed grooming himself. Now, imagine seeing those tines laying 50 yards away, grooming himself, and I ended up pulling up my muzzleloader and shooting him. I made a poor shot. It ended up hitting him in the leg low, clipped a little bit of his vitals, but he went a long way. Ended up having to get my buddy with a dog, and we ended up finally getting him the next morning. He was still alive, he wasn't doing well, and we put him down, and not the way you want to do it, but ended up getting him, and there he is. Since it's right next to it, I'll kind of tell this one, little 7-pointer. I'm famous for shooting 7-pointers. I've shot a lot of them. I always joke with my friends, I've shot 2 bucks over 200 pounds, both of them are 7-pointers. The reason I got this one mounted up is John Wright actually shot a really nice 10-pointer in Maine and decided he'd get that deer mounted because I think he shot another, I think it was either an 8 or a 10 in New Hampshire, and I might be getting it backwards. But anyway, I gave him the cape because that buck, believe it or not, weighed like a little over 180 pounds. It was a fun hunt. I tracked him down and made a really long, 200-yard shot down through the hardwoods to get him. And fun tracking hunt. One of the first bucks I tracked successfully, probably top, first 3. So it's nice to have it on the wall. You can look up and remember those good memories. This is actually my heaviest buck I've ever harvested. Weighed 225 pounds, 7-pointer. This was 2009. I had actually been tracking, I believe, him up. We had some snow high, it was raining out, and I tracked a snowed in track, ended up jumping a buck and a doe out of its bed. They pitched down off the mountain and took me to bare ground. I bare ground tracked them as long as I could. I honestly lost the tracks. It was just kind of still hunting my way through. It went from torrential downpour to kind of calmed up a little bit. And just about the time I was thinking about going down and change my jacket, I said, I'm gonna keep going. Glad I did. Jumped him with a doe, made an absolutely lucky shot on him. He was running dead away from me through the clear cut. Ended up tucking one right up his backside and got him 225, 2009. I'm trying to remember what year this one was. I want to say 2010 maybe. 22 inches wide. The backstory with him is the day before I was tracking an absolute monster in New Hampshire. And I want to make the story short, but I ended up screwing up. I just jumped the big buck. He was with a doe. He grunted. They went down this green growth. I snuck down in there, tipped my bleat can a couple times, heard a grunt, saw a deer coming, saw a bone, pulled up, boom, 4-pointer, wrong buck. Put a buddy on that buck's track. He ended up seeing it a couple times, got in a fight with another buck, crazy story. Went to Maine the next day, picked up his track, tracked him most of the day. He was with a doe, ended up catching up to him. This one weighed 191, and what a drag. But fun hunt, again, I believe it was 2010. This 8 here, I actually consider myself kind of lucky to have gotten. We had a lot of beech nuts that year, and I was hunting an area that had a lot of beech nuts in it. And I knew there was some fingers with some green growth, so I figured I'd go down and see if the does were using those fingers. And sure enough, I bumped into like 3 or 4 does bedded. Had a little bit of snow on the ground. Nothing that was, it was kind of tough to track because it was spotty. Like you get into one area, there'd be really good snow. You'd walk 200 or 300 yards and it'd be almost bare ground, especially in the green stuff. But I had said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna hang out here just as long as I can because one of these does has gotta be hot. And I no sooner said that, I actually sat down for about 2 seconds. I look up and he's coming about 150 yards down through the hardwoods. And offhand, I just pulled up, put it on him because 2 more steps, he was gonna be out of my life forever. Still to this day, I don't know where I hit him, but I got him, dropped him. He only went probably 20, 30 yards. And that was an 8-pointer that weighed 184. Holding this set because this was the year my daughter was born, actually, 2020. This buck weighed 181. I shot this one in Maine, the very last day of Maine season. And you know, I didn't know how much hunting I was gonna get to do, having my wife's due date was December 1st, and the baby came on December 2nd, and I shot this one on November 31st. So this one weighed 181, and then this one, this is the same year, that's why I'm talking about this. This is a 10-pointer. Again, I hunted local that year because I wasn't sure how much I was gonna be able to hunt. And I had a couple big bucks that I'd been seeing around, and I was sitting actually during muzzleloader season when he came out, and I couldn't say no to him. You know, it's a 10-pointer in New Hampshire. This one weighed 181, and this guy weighed 164 or something. He wasn't a real heavy deer, but fun hunt. 2 bucks in the same year, and a beautiful baby girl. 2016 Newfoundland. I've never drawn a tag in New Hampshire, Maine, or Vermont. And my wife actually surprised me with this hunt. My father got one, and I got this one, and what a hunt of a lifetime. All right, that's pretty much the tour of my trophy room. Sorry it's not that big, but I'm gonna add to it next year. Sorry, babe, but that's the goal. All right, it's time to go.